I am so glad you're here. I'm really excited. It's going to be packed. It's going to be packed with people and also with a lot of great information as well. All right, let's see where people are dialing in from. Denise from Rochester, New York, welcome. Welcome, welcome. We're going to wait about another minute or two. Robert, welcome. Glad that you are here. Now, since you are on time / a minute or two early, go ahead and type one thing in. Why did you get on another Zoom call? What do you hope to get out of this? I would love to hear that from you. And again, this is going to be an interactive sprint session. Okay, so we're going to be doing. So be sure that you have a pen and a piece of paper ready. And if you saw in the registration, make sure that you have your calendar ready. And we'll be telling you why. All right, good afternoon, welcome, welcome. It looks like a lot of people are joining right now. So it looks like Kara and Cindy, and welcome. So be sure to put in the chat, if you haven't, where you're dialing in from. And one burning thing that's on your mind, that if you got that out of this webinar, you would have been like, that was so worth an hour of my time. So if you could put that in the chat as well, that would be fantastic. All right, welcome, Kara and Sydney. All right, we're gonna wait about another minute or two, and then we're gonna jump right in. And if anyone comes on late, that's totally fine. They will get the replay, but live is always best. So I'm so glad you're here. Vonda, welcome. Be sure to put in where you are dialing in from. We have a look at that. All right, we have Santa Barbara, we have Hermosa Beach. Love those areas. I also hope to get to New York too sometime soon. I'm jealous, my son's leaving in a couple days. Looks like Yvonne, welcome, so glad you're here. All right, well, there is a lot to cover. So we're gonna hop right in, because I know it's been not just a crazy year, it's been a crazy year and a half. And now that we're at Q3, it is the perfect time to do what we call a pause and plan. And this is going to be, all of my work is applied. And so my true hope is that this is going to be interesting and fun, but I want to make sure that your life and your schedule and your impact and everything, it's a little bit different at the end of this hour. So I talk about this, with my one-on-one clients, with small groups, large trainings, a lot of speaking. So it's a second language to me. So if I'm ever speaking too quickly, you don't understand something, please slow me down. All right, so we're gonna hop in. Looks like Vonda, Yvonne, welcome. Bill, glad that you're here. All right, so now the title of this, Productivity Impact, Beating Overwhelm in Q3, Q4, what I'm hearing is that, this has been a most unusual year and a half. And then just when you're like, yes, it's getting better. And then, we're not so sure anymore. And so what we're gonna do here is to take back some control when we sometimes feel like we don't have any. And that can help us feel grounded. It can help us feel less anxious. And of course, we can be more productive. And then we can really have the impact that we want and deserve. So what we're going to be doing is kind of shrinking things down a little bit and building a 90-day plan. This is going to take you right up until before Thanksgiving. All right. And we're going to start that process. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. This is going to be some of the same content, some of the same things that I share with high-level executives, with Olympians, with some of my clients who 5-figure clients. I'm working with them and their teams, and I'm super excited to share it with you today. So without further ado, we're gonna hop in. Again, if you're just joining, looks like Sri, welcome, glad you're here. If you're just joining, make sure that you have 3 things: pen, paper, and access to your calendar. If you have it printed out, that's amazing. But if not, have it pulled up. Just make sure your notifications are off so you can help have this hour just for you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hop in. But before we do, I have a question for you. Are you feeling a little bit stuck or overwhelmed? Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, because I think it's safe to say that we've all been there to an extent or the other. So at this snapshot in time, now that we're deep into Q3, let me know on a scale of 1 to 10 if you're feeling stuck and or overwhelmed. So 1 would be not at all. I'm doing amazing. I have my routine. I'm on schedule for my impact. Everything is fantastic. And 10 is be like you're really losing your mind. Like you have 11 meetings every day. You're not getting your work done. You just don't know if you can keep going. So if you could put in on a scale of 1 to 10, you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed. 1, not at all. 10, yes. All right, let's kind of see what everybody's saying. It looks like 6, 8, 7. Yeah, thanks for putting that in, and thanks for your honesty. We want to make sure that by the end of this, you have the tools to come down a couple points. In other words, to get back to that place of, I'm good. I might have some rough days, but I'm good. I feel like I have a handle on it. And I also have the tools to course correct when necessary. When all what does hit the fan, I can come back. All right. All right. We're just submitting a couple more people. All right. So the other question is, do you feel like maybe you're not having the impact that you like? Because here's the thing. When you are feeling overwhelmed, when you are feeling a little out of control, then it's really difficult to have the impact that you want, because we can't show up as high performers and we can't have the impact that we want and deserve. Okay, so Terry, welcome. Glad that you're here. Now, if this is you and this is sounding familiar, you are in the right place. So let's start to roll our sleeves up and jump in. Now, before we start doing some tools and resources, and I put you through some exercises that hopefully truly my intent, and this might be big, but I really want to change your life by the end of this hour. Okay. But before we do that, I want you to think about, what if you had these couple things? What if you had some new tools? What if you had a new system? And what if you had a path forward? Because a lot of times we look at our calendars and we think about our life and we're like, it is how it is. That's the saying of my absolute best friend in the world. And it serves her and it serves me very well sometimes. But when I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed, if it is what it is, that's not going to be helpful. So what if you had new tools, new system, new path forward? Now, here's the thing. I say we need female leaders in Q3, Q4, and beyond. And for the good, amazing male allies and men on this call too, on this live cast, we need you too. We need heart-centered leaders, and not to throw women under the bus all at the same time, but we tend to be overthinkers, right? And sometimes that's amazing. And we tend to be very compassionate and have all of these great qualities. But sometimes if we don't know how to use them and we don't know how to use them to our advantage, it can actually slow down our impact. So this live cast should be very insightful for women on this call, as well as men, and especially men who are looking to unlock the superpowers of the women on their team. All right. All right, so many of you know me. I actually recognize some of the faces and some of the people that have registered, but for those of you who don't, my name is Sheryl Kline. I'm a mental toughness and certified high performance coach, best-selling author, speaker, and CEO and founder of the Zone Lab. But let's just stop right there. Some of you might be wondering, well, what is a mental toughness coach and what is a high performance coach? I've spent over 2.5 decades working with world-class athletes and some of the top executives here in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley, and across the country. And what I really help do is help people to learn how to dream big, how to push their limits of what they actually think is possible, and then develop the confidence and the influence to see it through, as well as the habits so they can sustain this level of success over the long haul. So that was a mouthful, but I'm hoping it gives you a little bit of clarity about what I do. And I am so passionate about bringing this content to you because look at the state of the affairs they're in. You are needed now more than ever. And so there's no more time for fear or doubt or not speaking up or overthinking things. We need what is in your gut and in your heart to speak up and be heard because we need your impact now more than ever. So I'm super excited. I hope you guys are as excited as me for the next 45 minutes or so. Now, before also we hop in, I want you to think about, let's take a step, literally take a step to your right and think about, we're going to step outside of yourself. Okay. So take a little half of a step over. If you're sitting down, you can scoot over. And I want you to think about who else this deep work is going to affect. Okay. It might affect your partner, because I happen to know that our partners, if we are overburdened, we are overstressed, we are not on path to our highest level of impact, who takes the brunt of that? Right? Okay, maybe it's just, maybe it's not you guys, maybe it's just me. But sometimes at least there's a high level of awareness so we can course correct and make sure that what we are doing, it impacts other people. It impacts our kids. It also impacts our colleagues who, God willing, we will be seeing them in person sometime. And also, it looks like some more folks are joining. I'm so glad you're here, Christina. And it also impacts our friends. How do we show up for them? How are we pushing them to do their best? We can't do those things when we haven't done the deep internal work on ourselves, when we are not on path, we are not in control and confident that we can make it happen. So this hour is absolutely about you, but I want you to have the perspective, is it the ripple down effect of how you move forward is huge. And so that makes me even more excited to talk about this. And the good news is that I've cracked the code for a lot of people already. I want you to know that whether it's, my 5-figure one-on-one clients or companies via speaking or small group training or larger scale facilitations, this is a process, it's a system. I've done it before, I know that it works. And as we move through here, I'm going to show you some proof, show you some outcomes, show you some transformations. So what I'm getting at is, you guys are not guinea pigs, okay? Everything that I'm going to share with you, it's been done before and it works. And I am so excited to share it with you. I think I mentioned that a few times. Now, here's the thing. Let's talk about transformation. What transformation can you expect if you start to master some of these things? The first thing is ability to focus on what matters most to you. We're going to have a conversation in a minute or two about other people's emergencies, other people's agendas, and we're also going to have a conversation about your calendar, okay? But this transformation will help you go from feeling overwhelmed, like you are working on what's most important to other people, to working on what matters most to you, all right? And then also feeling more in control, taking more control especially during this time of disruption. And we're going to teach you a couple ways how to do that. And then also having a greater sense of impact, because here's the thing, we want to make sure that we are congruent. In other words, that what we're doing during the day and how we're feeling during the day is congruent with what's important to us. And then we have that sense of impact. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. This is a lot of writing and it's very small type. So I do not expect you to read it, but what I want you to know is that this is a recent case study, or I like to call them hero stories. I had the honor of working with the president of GM of Jabra, which is a consumer electronics company. If you have the opportunity to use any of their audio video, it's probably the best in the world. I'm a little biased, but I think it's really true. But anyways, tell me if this sounds familiar. You can raise your hand when I share the story. Kelly's amazing. She had tremendous confidence with herself and leading her team, but it was challenging when it came to her global peers that were all male, and also with her CEO. So with her CEO, he knew that he could depend on her. She would get the job done. She was like, she had that relationship, but not necessarily as a confidant. And it was sometimes challenging to have the respect and have her global peers listen to her, even though she was confident in her voice. And so she's made that transformation to now having the utmost respect of her peers. They now come to her for advice. They give her the stage during their global all hands meetings. And also she's a confidant of her CEO. And not only that, now her team is utilizing the Limitless Leader system, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, to get everybody on the same page. So everybody has that clarity. They built the confidence. They know how to be highly influential with their subordinates, with themselves, most importantly, but also with their leaders. And so what I'm getting at is there's proof. There's a system, there's a proof, it's been done. And if you have a small takeaway or a couple golden nuggets that are going to help you today, then that's amazing. If you want me to jump in and help yourself, your organization, that's amazing too. Either way, this is going to be a fast and furious few minutes together. And I just wanted to let you know that this is a system, it's proven, and I'm just really excited to bring it to you today. So here's the thing, just to give you some context so you understand, you get yourself oriented, like what are we talking about and what's going on? So we're going to talk about a sliver of this framework, okay? What I teach in this Limitless Leader system, it's just about three things. It's about clarity, it's about confidence, it's about influence, okay? And it obviously goes a lot deeper, but it's very important to have high level aspirational clarity, and then all the way down to really kind of granular, not glandular, granular clarity. And because without clarity, if you look down here, we have no vision. We need to decide. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I talk about the word decide a lot. It means death of any other option. We get to decide what our impact is going to be, how our day is going to go, and that type of thing. So no clarity, no vision. And then also with confidence, confidence is a muscle. You might be thinking, you might be thinking with confidence, oh, some people, have so much confidence. They're just born that way. But it's not really so. Confidence is a muscle. And if you don't have confidence, what's the opposite of confidence is no voice. Because if you've been exposed to my teachings, or you're working with me, or you've heard me speak, you know that when we get perceived by other people, what we're thinking comes out of our mouth. Okay, so if we're doubtful, we're not confident in our voice, then it's going to be really difficult for other people to have buy-in when we have big ideas or we're making a big ask or something. So if we do not have confidence, we do not build that muscle, we're not going to have a voice, because when we do speak up, it's not going to land with impact. Okay. And then finally, influence. Success does not happen in solitude. If you have big ideas and big dreams and big things that you want to do, no one who has ever achieved any high level of impactful success in a sustainable way has done it alone. It is so important that you have influence. And influence, some people think influence is about talking people into doing things that they don't want to do. It's absolutely not that. It's helping other people come to your point of view, but doing it on their own. Okay. And without influence, guess what? We don't have significance. We might have a little significance, but we don't have the significance that we could. So this is a 10,000 foot view of this framework. Where we're going to jump in is on the clarity portion. We're going to take a little sliver out of that pie and teach it to you today. Okay. Does anybody have any questions to this point? Because right out of the gates, I've dropped a lot of information on you. Okay. Let me know. Put it in the chat if you have any questions. If not, hold on to your seat because we're going to go. All right. All right, transition. A lot of people think that this slide is a mistake. They're kind of wondering, why is this slide here? But it is we have so many things going on, and life is coming at us so fast that in order for us to be as productive and profitable and as impactful as possible, we need to pause, and we need to be intentional, and we need to have transitions from one thing to the other. Just as if you were an Olympian, we're just coming off the Olympics. So if you were a 400-meter runner, you would not put on your running tights, clothes, and then just run out and go run the race. No, there's a process. You put on your clothes, you pause, you think about the race. It's very methodical. And so I want you to start getting in the habit of being methodical, especially between things that matter most. And I'm going to show you how to do a transition. And if this is foreign to you and you haven't done this before, they should be done in between every single switch of interaction. For in other words, you're not going to go from a meeting to an interview. You're not going to go from having breakfast exactly into a meeting. But one area that I want to really challenge you, I shouldn't say challenge, invite you to have a transition is when you close your work day and move into your family. In other words, transition to your life. And sometimes, maybe some of you have a commute now, but that might be just, going from your office and turning around and opening another door or what have you. So it might be transitioning to your family. It could be to a pet, or it could just be you transitioning from your work day into the rest of your day. So what a transition is you're just going to take a pause and you take a couple deep breaths. Usually I sit, have my hands palm facing up. You can do this right now. You guys should not be on video. So if you think you're going to look very strange, it's totally fine. We'll all look strange together. And you put your palms facing up, whether you're standing, but if you're sitting, do it too. And you're just going to take a deep belly breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. So when you're inhaling, you're going to inhale in all of the things swirling around from the day. And when you're exhaling, you're going to exhale them out. So they're actually exiting your mind. Okay, if you want to have a notebook by you to write down the things that you didn't finish, that you need to do, the things that you might be worried about or what have you, you can have that next to you. But go ahead and take one more deep breath. And when you inhale in, we're going to hold it for 5. And exhale through your mouth. And I want you to think, I'm here and I'm ready. And so the next question, especially when you're transitioning from a work day to the end of your work day, to your family, to your pet, to yourself, is how do I want to greet the people that matter most to me? Okay, so I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent on one word, which is transition, but I want to make sure that you understand the purpose and that you can start inserting this into your life. Okay. All right. So you ready? Raise your hands. 1 for yes, 2 for no, because you're going to get a lot of information. I'm going to see if you guys are awake. So this chat should be lit up. So I know that you're not if you were multitasking, that's okay. But I want to make sure that you stop. So put in the chat 1, yes, I'm ready, and 2, no, I'm not ready. I know that if it's not a 1, then you're probably not ready because you're probably not paying attention, which is fine. But if you're not, then pay attention now. Okay, awesome. Looks like you guys are all fired up with me. Okay, good. Okay, break out your calendars. I know it's a scary thing, but we're going to do it. You might think that this is actually what this is what I look like when I look in the calendar of my one-on-one clients. Sometimes it's what they look like too. But anyways, I printed this out. This is kind of funny, but kind of not. I have worked with one-on-one clients, high-level senior leaders and their teams that literally have no time to do their work. They have, this is what their calendar looks like. So again, I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. If not just this calendar, but if you have limited to no time to do your work or to have a morning routine because you have so many meetings. So again, 1 would be not at all, and 10 would be like, oh God, that looks like my calendar. Okay, So let me hear, scale 1 to 10, you're all good. This does not look remotely like your calendar. Your calendar is filled full of white space. So you could do all the work you need to do. That would be 1, and 10 would be like, uh-oh. Okay, let me see what you guys are saying. Let me see, 5, 7, 10, 4, 7. Yeah, I would say that most everything is above a 5, and I have some 10s. All right, so here's the thing. I want to make sure that we transition to have more of a calendar like this. And what we're talking about now is boundaries. And you might look at this and say, oh God, there's no way. For example, I'm going to give an example of a client that I have. So she, which is amazing, she got chosen out of a lot of people into a new director role. So I wish I could call you out your name, but round of applause, and they're so lucky to have you. But she's kind of she's being fire hosed right now because she's wrapping up a current role, getting ramped up, getting to know people and a new team and another role. And it's like meetings back to back to back, but it's hard for her to have impact because there's no time for her to strategize and think and do her work. And she looked at her schedule and she says, well, I think in like 2 months it'll get better, because that's when I'm going to dial down my other role. And that's when there should be less meetings and we won't be doing 2022 planning. And here's the thing. It's just going to get busier. It's going to stay the same or get busier. So we have to start getting creative. And so I'm not suggesting that your calendar perfectly mirror this, but we're going to focus on micro steps. So something that is very important, and we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, but a morning routine. That's going to be more towards the end of this, but that is a boundary to set some time for yourself. I'm going to give you a tool and instrument so it serve as a guide. You don't have to do everything on there, but just as a guide. But at a minimum, you should have a few minutes in the morning, a minimum. Now, a lot of people roll out of bed and right into their workday. Okay, and there's just research after research after research that proves that it decreases your productivity, it increases your anxiety and puts you at risk for depression. It makes you feel like you don't have a sense of control, and your impact that you can have is not going to happen from this place. And it starts from taking control of your morning. And of course, if you roll back, it has to do with your evening time too. So I'm going to go under the assumption, that you have some good habits in place to go to bed at a decent hour. And if you're going to bed too late and you're tired in the morning, we can roll it back a little. Think of, it's one adjustment I can make in the evening. So I'm rested if I don't have a morning routine. So I'm rested so I can either consistently start a new routine or maybe give myself a little bit more time in the morning. Okay. So morning routine, we're just talking about 2 things: setting boundaries for morning routine and focused work time or time to strategize. Because the higher up you are in your organization, the less time you're going to be spending with managing people, managing clients, and managing team. And so it might be focused work that you need to do, or it might be strategy that you need to focus on. Okay. But I want you to start thinking about, and if you're like, oh gosh, 7:30 to not like 2 hours of focused time for myself. Oh, there's no way, no meeting. Well, the whole point is just to start to get creative. So in other words, that was the same story with a woman that I'm working with that just recently got this promotion. And so what she said, normally meetings would start at 8 a.m. and they would pretty much go all day. Okay. So she came up with a couple suggestions, but she really came up with waking up a little bit earlier, starting her workday a little bit earlier, and then asking to start the meetings, no meetings before 9 a.m. So now she had an extra 30 minutes because she's starting at 7:30 a.m. and she has from 8 to 9 with no meeting starting before 9 a.m. So that's just an example that you might need to get creative. You might need to make a big ask. You might need to train some folks. You know, those folks might be in your home. In other words, is there someone else? Do you have kids that could be doing a little bit more? Maybe you could have a little extra time if they made their own breakfast or their own lunch, or preps dinner or something like that. So it's time to start getting creative, making some big asks, okay, and start to create some boundaries. Start with micro steps. It might be 15 minutes in the morning. It might be a half an hour of focused strategy time, what have you, but just start thinking that through. Also, midday break, so important. You probably know that, but sometimes common knowledge isn't always common practice. So what's most important, if you're a James Clear fan, the book Atomic Habits, start small. If you are not breaking at all in the middle of the day, that's okay. You're not alone. That's the good news. But the bad news is that it's going to cost you productivity, profitability, and impact at the end of the day. So start with 10 or 15 minutes. Set a timer, get someone to be accountable, do what you need to do, but start small, be consistent. Same thing with your focus work time in the afternoon. Start small, be consistent. Or maybe you're going to have all of your focus work time in the morning. So it doesn't have to be like this, but you should have, I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. What should be blocked in your calendar is what's for you. And then the white space should be what's open for everyone else. People have it a little mixed up. What's blocked into calendars is where everyone else has eaten up your time, and maybe there's a sliver of white space here and there. So we're trying to flip that, and it's going to be a gradual process. And like I said, if you've worked with me or we've done a facilitation and brought out a lot of calendars, either one-on-one or a large group, it's a process and it starts small. But think of one way that you can have focused, consistent, blocked work time in the morning, and also a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes in the morning for a morning routine. And we'll talk about some different options of either what to put in there, or if you're like, I have a morning routine, I don't need this. So that's amazing, but morning routines can always be improved. Okay. I know mine can. It's always evolving. So does anyone have any questions about this? Again, you might have to be creative, but we're going to talk about at the end too, how we can commit to this and how you can be accountable, because this is one thing that could literally change your life. And it not just changes your life and changes your impact. Like I said, there's a ripple down effect. It's going to really impact the other people in your life, especially the ones that matter most. Okay. Okay. So here's the thing. If some of you, I notice that you work with me, you've seen this before. This is what is part of the Limitless Leader Roadmap system, and which, this is something that I've used with Olympians. I've been blessed to use it with some of the top senior female leaders here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and across the country. It looks simple, and it is simple. It doesn't mean it's necessarily easy to stick with. So here's where I'm going to need your participation. I'm going to explain something that I want you to write it down, and I would love for you to put it into the chat. Now we're talking about a 90-day sprint right now. We're going to shift some things, shift mindset, shift some habits, and really create a 90-day plan that works better for us. Something that we can sustain, and also pay attention to this one, something that is congruent with what we are trying to get done and what we know in our gut and our heart is most important. Okay. So we're going to have a little talk about a long-term objective. I know all of you have set goals before, but a lot of times, and I'm not going to bore you with the last 40 years of goal setting theory, because I find it fascinating, but you probably don't. But I want to share this with you because there's different types of goals for different periods of time. And if we or our team get this screwed up or mixed up, we're less likely to be successful. Okay, so I want to make sure that you understand what a long-term objective is. And if you know, or again, if you've worked with me in the past, or you've seen this, or you've been through the Limitless Leader Roadmap, that's amazing, but these are fluid. So we're going to talk about this point in time. And we're also normally, when I work with clients, this is in a 12-month block. So it's in a year. So we're shrinking this into a 90-day sprint. Okay, so a long-term objective, that is something that's big and audacious. I will tell you what it is not. It is not a SMART goal. Okay, SMART goals, at least in my opinion, are stupid. Okay, we want to think of a big audacious goal. Let me give you an example. So I work with a woman who is a president of a whole entire department of a bank. And she's dealing with all sorts of high net worth clients. She's managing teams. Like she's amazing, but she's worn out. And her, in her heart, and her black belt, and her passion, and her, what is it called? Her legacy, how she wants to be remembered, is all about strategy. She has this amazing ability to plan and forecast. So it's her dream someday to, that's all she does. She does not interact really that much with clients. She's not managing team. All day she's strategizing, running reports, doing all these analysis, but now she's doing none because she has that first calendar. Remember the one that was totally purple, right? And so in the next 90 days, she wanted to create a week where she had 2 hours every morning to strategize. And in her mind, that was to go from none. She's like, well, I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing anything, and who's going to be at the meetings, and I don't want to burden my team, and like all these other things. So this is a long-term objective that in the next 30 days seems a little crazy to her to spend 2 hours every morning. Okay. What was a more SMART goal would have been 30 minutes, but we're pushing it a little bit. So I want you to think about in the next 90 days. So we're coming up between now and right before Thanksgiving. What is one long-term objective? Something that you have little to no control over. Okay. And it should be very big and audacious. Okay. When it comes to the rest of this sheet, we're not going to cover it today, but I will give it to you in the resources. I'm going to provide all of these resources. Even though this comes directly out of my course, I want to make sure that you have the tools and resources at your disposal. So I will give this to you. But for today, and since we're limited on time, I want to make sure that we go really deep on one thing. So we're talking about long-term objective for the next 90 days. Now, just to let you know, these other things are extremely important. The intermediate term objectives, those have to do with, well, what do you need to improve upon in the next couple of weeks? And also the short-term objectives, what are you committed to? Those are the things that you do have control over. You also have to understand why you care. In other words, why do you care about your long-term objective? And also, who else will benefit if you succeed? Remember, we had that talk, and it comes from a place of compassion and love, but it's not all about you. When you're having this huge impact, when you're having the impact that is in your gut and your heart, it impacts so many other people. So I want you to be very aware of who else it impacts. And then there's a little space in the middle to plan out your week. That's really for your short-term objectives. And then finally, on the right-hand side, you need to be world-class performers. They're very forward-thinking and strategic. They're not reactive. Okay, so I want you to be every Sunday, you get this out, you look at it, you think about what you've committed to, why you care, all these different things. You think about what could get in my way. Oh, we have this meeting. Oh, we have that meeting, or somebody's coming into town, or I have a commitment to a parent or what have you. And then you come up with solutions. It's just like if you need to hike up and around a mountain, you know, you want to make sure that you stand back before you're butted up against the mountain to think of different solutions. Okay. So that's a brief explanation. You will have this tool so you can fill it out on your own. But for now, we're focusing on your long-term objective the next 90 days. So that being said, I want to hear from you because I want to make sure that you're really grasping this. And chances are at least with all the clients and the people that I coach in smaller groups and from these larger scale facilitations, everybody screws it up the first time. So I want to make sure that you're on path. So go ahead, type in the chat, next 90 days long-term objective. And I want you to think, when you're tempted to put something in, I want you to think, how can it be better? How can it be bigger? So what's one thing? You guys go ahead and put in the chat, long-term objective for the next 90 days. What is yours? All right, let's see. Promotion, SVP. All right, yeah, go ahead and put that in the chat. Next 90 days. And if you don't want to put it in the chat, that's totally fine too. As long as you have a notebook, I want you to be sure and put it in there as well. All right, so let's just have one more look here. New job, VP, CRO, excellent. Here's the thing. This is what scares a lot of people. I don't say scares, that's the wrong word. I don't want to scare you guys off, but working with me, you could come to me with just about anything and I'll be like, all right, let's go. Let's get it done. So I believe in you guys 100%. And just, so you know, there's a system, there's a process to get it done. So thanks for sharing that. All right, so we're going to move on. If anyone has any questions, last call for the success blueprint to put in your long-term objective in the next 90 days, or if you have any question about anything else on this worksheet, you will be receiving this as a tool and resource. So you don't need to worry about, hurrying up and copying things down. All right, any questions? I'll double check. Working on starting a company, that is amazing. So just start. I want you to think in the next 90 days, if you're working on starting a company, obviously the company's not going to start in 90 days, but you want to think about before Thanksgiving, what would make me so excited and proud if it happened? What crazy thing? I want you to think about something that if you told a girlfriend or you told someone, they would be like, oh, I got your back, but that's a little crazy. Okay, I want you to go there. Okay, so good luck, just start. All right, so I want you to think about the one thing that might be an energy drain when we're talking about, your calendar, setting and deciding what you want to do, thinking through your long-term objectives, planning for that. And that has to do with stories, especially us women. We are amazing storytellers, okay? I'll give you a short example. One is, we'll go back to the president of a president of a whole division of a bank, the one who wanted to do strategy. Do you remember her? Okay, so she knew what she needed to do. She's like, I'm committed. I'm going to move, in the next 90 days, I'm moving towards 2 hours of strategy, forecasting, numbers, planning, all the stuff that she loves and that she's amazing at. Could actually transform the bank, honestly. But she was like, but I don't know if I can. And I said, well, why not? And she's, well, my direct reports, they're really busy. And I think it might overburden them. And also when I'm doing that, I don't really feel like I'm not really doing work. So that was the two things. I'm not really doing work and I'm going to overburden my direct reports. And so what I said to her is, whoops, not that. What I said to her is, do you know that to be true? And she's like, no, but they're, but. I'm like, okay, between now and when we meet in 2 weeks, have a conversation with your direct reports and kind of tell me. She came back, she's like, I was so surprised. They actually welcome the responsibility that they will take over those meetings. They will step in for me. They will talk to the high net worth clients. They will do, not only will they do it, they're excited about it. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's where a story or an assumption was getting in the way of her really unlocking her next level of impact and something that ultimately will help her be more impactful, but will ultimately help the bank to be more profitable too. And then when it came to, I'm not really doing anything, I'm like, do you know that to be true? So let's sit down, do that I had her do it for 2 hours, one day. And she came back. She also presented it to her boss, who it just blew his mind completely. And she actually could quantify that, yes, she was working. And yes, that work was actually more impactful than those meetings and the other work and meeting with clients and managing people that she was doing. So what I want you to do now, remember we talked about this being interactive, right? I want you to think about, is there a story that you're telling yourself? Is there a story that you're telling yourself or an assumption that you're making that might be blocking you from either your long-term objective or shifting your calendar around a little bit so it's congruent to what you really need and want to be doing? So does anyone have a story? 100%. Wow, this is a long one. So many concerns about focusing on myself and my impact. Thoughts like I will be letting my leadership down, not being seen as a team player. So in other words, if you start bowing out of meetings, might make them seem like I don't care as much as everyone else. I'd be putting too much pressure or work on someone else. Ugh. Okay, does that sound familiar? You guys raise your hands, like just put a Y or N in the chat. Like you maybe not know what you need to do or want to do, but you're kind of making up stories. I mean, and it's not bad. It's because you care about other people, but you're making up stories and making assumptions that maybe not necessarily are true. So maybe put a Y or an N in there. Yes, I've done that before, or no, never. Nope, never. All right, so let's just go ahead and see real quick what people are saying. Yes, definitely I care. Okay, so it's good, and I'm glad that you care, but we're gonna learn to be discerning and learn to start to be honest with ourselves, okay? And when it comes to your number one energy drain, it might actually be a lack of a morning routine. Has anyone ever rolled out of bed, scrolled through their phone, and immediately felt their heart rate increase, or they get out of bed and immediately go start working? And it was kind of like that before, but of course it's even worse now. So let's just see what you guys are saying. Anyone do that? No? All right. Of course, too many times, lol, yes, of course, yes, definitely felt that before, yep, all right. So I'm not recommending that you do this like all the things, but I just want to introduce this to you. And again, you're going to have this as a resource, okay? And you can use it and scratch it up and, cross things off and put something else in. But these are the things that I suggest based on the high performance curriculum that I coach and teach to some of my one-on-one clients. And I have 5-figure clients in addition to their teams and larger scale facilitation. You want to think about your first hour in the morning. Okay, you want to think about how does that go, or let's shrink it down to a half an hour. Okay, you want to make sure or consider that you move. In other words, and this is before, phone out of room. I'm going under the assumption that your phone's not in your bedroom, please. Okay, 73% of the people in the United States sleep with their phone in the room. I'm hoping that you're one of the 27% that does not, but that goes without saying. But if you can get up and move, that's not a workout. Just do some shoulder rolls, do a couple yoga moves, move around a little bit. And then also set an intention. You just stop and you're still. And you might ask yourself, how do I want today to go? Or something like that. Set an intention. And then also, like I said, to be still and then hydrate. If you can have some lemon water in the morning, that's amazing. Have it ready to go the night before. That'll make it easier. These are suggestions based on this curriculum of high performance habits, which is the coaching curriculum that I teach. Now, the first hour of your workday. So that is really important too. The main things here are to make sure at least the first hour that it can be focused work time for you. 2 things, limited, if not eliminated distractions, phones, notifications, sign out of Gmail or email or what have you, and tackle the green monster first. Okay, whatever is most important, tends to be maybe what you don't want to do, but it's world-class performers do what's necessary first, not what's easiest first to check it off the list. And I know how tempting that can be. So I just wanted to make sure that you have this. Is there one thing that you can think of off of this list that you're like in the morning that you can incorporate? You can just put in water. It could be arm circles. It could be a 1 minute meditation or 10 breaths or what have you, or drink a glass of water. Just kind of scan that right now and think, okay, I can do that. Think of it consistent, and be specific. If it's hydrate, I'm like, okay, I can drink 6 ounces of water. I mean, ideally it'd be 12 or 16, but if you're not doing it now, drink 4. Drink 4 every single day with Sublimit. So as you're looking through this, what's one thing that you're like, I can do that. I can reclaim that for myself. Okay, let's just see real quick. Yes, definitely. Wow, okay, awesome. There's a lot of great chats in here. Okay, so thanks so much. Now there's some questions of, well, can I get some help? And I will definitely tell you about that. But before I do that, I want to make sure that you're not overwhelmed with information, because I know a lot of times, especially in the personal development world that I'm in, we get fire hosed with information. You're like, that was amazing, but then we do nothing. And so I want to make sure that you incorporate some of these things into your life. So I want you to think about, in the beginning, we talked about your calendar. Now, again, being consistent is most important. So I want you to think about, what is one thing that I'm going to shift in my calendar to make sure it's congruent with my long-term objective? So it could be a break in the middle of the day so you can sustain your success. It could mean blocking 10 minutes in the morning. It could mean starting work 30 minutes early so you can strategize or focus on your work. But what is one calendar priority shift? So let me know what that is. Think through that and go ahead and put it into the chat. And then also one boundary. So in other words, think through, what is one boundary that I can make? That might be with your leaders, it might be with your team, it might be with your family. In other words, your kids might need to pitch in more, or your team might need to do a little more, or you might need to ask to shift the meetings from 8 to 9 o'clock. So I want to know what those are. Let me just see what you guys are saying here. Block off time, boundary, no after hours work, period. I am so with you on that one. All right, one story. Think about one story you're telling yourself. If you are like the client who told herself the story of, I can't delegate these meetings and take them off my calendar because I'd overburden my team. It was a story. It came from a place of compassion, but it was wrong. And it wasn't so great for her, and it also wasn't great for them. So think about and write down, what is one story you're telling yourself that is getting in the way of you having more impact, that is getting in the way of you being congruent with having the impact that you can. And then finally, one routine. Pick one thing. Don't make it complicated. You don't need to do 17 new things. It could be like, I'm going to move my body 20 minutes a day. I'm going to wake up 10 minutes early, and I'm going to do a couple yoga moves, or I'm going to go for a while, or whatever it is. Or it could be in the routine. What are you going to do? Without fail, I commit to 30 minutes in the middle of the day. And if I can't do it from 12 to 12:30 as it's blocked, I'm committed to it. Either do it before or after. So one routine, okay? And I want you to just know that there's a path forward, and there's a system and a process. We went over some of the things today, but it's a piece of the puzzle. And if this is all your takeaway right now, then that's amazing. And I will make sure that you get these worksheets, and that I hope that it's my sincere hope that will make a positive impact on your schedule and your life and the people that really matter most to you. But I really want you to know that it's a process and a system, and what we covered today was a little piece of the puzzle, and I really hope that it served you. Now, if you would like some help, the good news is that I can do that. And right now, I think until I can't see where the end of this says on my, so it looks like towards the end of the month, I'm going to absorb the cost of a private 30-minute Zoom meeting because I want to make this real for you guys. I've done my best explaining it, but like I said, we get it mixed up sometimes. And for some of you, you've heard it before, but even those of you who are working with me, you know it's important to have someone shoulder to shoulder. How is it going? Oh, it went well, great. It's not going well. Where can we shift? Where can we adjust? How do we make it better? And it's that having someone shoulder to shoulder and really not just cheering you on, because I'm a great cheerleader, but I'm also going to hold your toes to the fire, and I'm also going to challenge. And so, and also run you through the success blueprint bit by bit by bit to make sure that it's customized and efficient and it works for you. So if you would like some help, go ahead, schedule a meeting, but I do want to be totally transparent. There's some people who this is for and who it isn't. Now, it's absolutely for you if you're driven and ambitious. And let me pause. If you were on this and you stayed with me for an hour, which all of you did, which I'm like bowing to you right now. You got on yet another Zoom meeting. I'm so grateful for you. So you can check those 2 boxes. I'm not worried about those. But what I want to know is it's absolutely for you if you are ready to learn new tools and to take action. That's the big one. Some people do not have the emotional or financial bandwidth to commit to it, and that's okay. It does not mean that some people are better and some people are worse, or some people qualified, some people aren't. It's about timing and it's about perception. Okay, it's about perception about yourself, perception about me, and also perception about the transformation that you can really experience. If you want to go from feeling overwhelmed, from not being as productive as you could be, for feeling out of control, to feeling like you have control, like you are productive, like you are profitable, and like you can sustain this level for the long haul, and you have the bandwidth and the commitment to do the work to do that, then let's do it. Let's have that 30-minute meeting. We'll figure out, make a mutual decision if it's a good fit to keep going. Now, if you're not able to commit to the work, you have too much going on, that's okay. It's 100% okay. And maybe you're not ready to change. Change is difficult. And if you're not ready, that's okay. And maybe you're not uncomfortable enough, because a lot of times people get comfortable in the uncomfortable. In other words, sometimes it's easier to stay the same rather than to shift and change with the hope of a better future. And if that's where you are, it's just the timing's just not right. Okay. But if you're like, nope, here we go, I'm ready, then I absolutely want to have a conversation with you now. If you're not ready, you will get all of these resources. You will get the recording. You will get some things to work on yourself. You're a part of my community. You will get free content every 2 weeks. You will be off to the races, and that's cool. There is no judgment. If I have contributed and helped you, then I have the deepest admiration and gratitude. But if you're ready to get the full Limitless Leader program and have me go shoulder to shoulder with you or your team, then let's do it. Let's schedule that call. Now, here's the thing. This is how you do it. It's just at SherylKline.com/ignition. I will ask you not too many questions, but I'll ask you some questions, and just to make sure that we are a good fit. And then once you do that, you'll get onto my calendar. We'll have a conversation. If I can help you, great. If not, and I can point you in the right direction or somewhere else, then I will do that too. Because if you are an ambitious, heart-centered leader that I know that you are, what's most important to me is that you can see your greatest sense of impact. So I want to open it up now for Q&A. We're at the top, just about at the top of the hour, but I will stay here until you guys have your questions answered. All right. I'm going to sign up now. Great stuff. All right. You guys have so many great ideas. I can't even read all of these chats. If you have any questions for me, please let me know. I'm going to hang out and stay here with you for a few minutes. Okay, some people are signing off for an important meeting. That's totally fine too. All right, looks like we have a couple more coming in. All right, yes, you're welcome. Lots of thank yous. So let me know if you want to really go from feeling stuck and overwhelmed and just learning some new tools and resources so you can have that impact, feel more in control of your days, but also your impact. Then let's have that conversation. All right, a couple more coming in. I'm going to hang out with you guys. What is my morning routine? Excellent session. Thanks so much. That is a great question. If you want to hang out and for a minute and know my morning routine, I will also stay with you if anyone else has any other questions. I'll keep my eye on the chat. My morning routine, I was waking up at 5 a.m. That was a little early. So I've shifted it to 5:30 a.m. I have about a half an hour of quiet time where I do some stretching. I also do a little meditation. And I either run and do a Peloton bike 6 days a week. And then some days if I'm really tired or I don't get a lot of sleep, I have what I call a hall pass day. So like Wednesday, I really was tired. I was feeling kind of off. So I just took my dog for a walk, and I normally would do a hill workout. And then that's what I did. And I did an extra 2-mile walk in the evening. So give yourself a little bit of grace too. But that is my morning routine as far as workout. Then I, make a shake and start my work day. I read the first 30 minutes from when I work from 8 to 8:30, and then it's off to the races. And if you notice and you, work with me, or I've worked with any of your team, you notice that I have no sessions, no meetings or anything before 10 a.m. because that's my block. I have to drink my own Kool-Aid and walk the walk. So that's when I block. And the only exception is I have some clients, or us coaches have coaches. So I have some high level strategic business coaches that are in Europe. So if I have to schedule something in the morning, I will, but otherwise I stick to that plan in the morning of 2 hours of block time for my deep work. All right, love it. Okay, some people are taking off. Okay, for another call. Okay, that's great. I would love to know for the rest of you that are still here, of course, I'm here to answer any questions, but one thing that I would really love knowing from you is what is your number one big challenge right now? Like number one thorn in your side that if you had a magic wand, you would make it better. If I could help that go away or help it, that it would make your life 10x, you would have 10x more energy, you would be 10x more happy, and that you've maybe tried things and they haven't worked. So what's the number one thing? All right, go ahead and let me know. I'm so excited to know that. So let me know, excuse me, the number one thing that if you could get some help with, it would be super, super helpful and really make your quarter. Not feeling like I'm being heard or respected in senior level meetings. Yes, I can definitely help with that. That is a conversation for another day, but I can 100% help with that. Clear vision of the future personal work overall. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I want to see who's the name. Is it Igari? Inga, thank you for bringing that up. I want you to know that there is a process and a system for figuring that out. Okay, so a lot of times we spend a lot of times with things going around and around in our head, and it's very difficult to figure out. So what I want you to know, and one thing that you can start to think about with clarity, first of all, pick one first, personal life, career, work. Do one at a time. It's my first bit of advice. And then the second thing, I want you to think about if the highest version of yourself, the best version of yourself was sitting next to you and asked you, what is most important and how do you want to feel? Then start writing some of those things down. And if you think about kind of shrink that timeline in, like I said, until before the next 90 days, that'll put you right before Thanksgiving. So if you think about by the middle of November, before I head into the holidays, if the highest version of myself was coaching me, what would she say? What would she say is most important? And not just what is the most important, what is most important? How do I want to feel? And what's the number one most important thing that I need to shift? So hopefully that's helpful. Take one at a time. And then once you can move from one to the other. Okay. Let's see if anyone else has any questions. All right. You are very welcome, Inga. If I can help in any way, just reach out, let me know. Or I'm glad to have a call. So, all right. Are there any more questions? Any more questions? All right. So the last thing that I want to share with you guys is that, you know, you look at, we're in the middle of Q3. What most people are doing, they're in default mode. So in other words, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. I want you to start to think about the consequences of inaction. Most people were doing what they're doing. They're going to kind of collapse exhausted into the holidays, and then they're going to be really tired going into the new year. And that's not where impact happens. That's not where joy comes from. Okay, so we want to make sure that you're doing the work now. We want to make sure that you get through this success blueprint, that you start to understand this limitless leader process and jump in and get clear on the next 90 days. So you are solid come mid-November, starting now, that you have a plan in place and that the train is pulled out of the station. And you are going to make sure that you are full of confidence, full of joy, and you're ready for the holidays, and that you're going to enter into the new year. The planning for the new year starts now, and it starts with making sure that you have a 90-day plan that works for you, because the world really needs you right now. Like I said, the ripple down effect is huge, whether it's for your family or your colleagues. And I want to make sure you get that done. So if I can help you in any way, please do reach out to me. I am so grateful for you, Valerie and Trish and Roberta and Inga. And also Nami, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward. Oh, thanks so much. You guys are so amazing. So thanks so much. I look forward to hearing from you, having you as a part of the community. If I can help you in any way on a personal level to walk you through some of these things, let's have a 30-minute call. Otherwise, welcome to the community. Thanks so much for doing the work, spending the time, and here's to you being amazing.